Greetings dear children. In this video, we are going to learn William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar Act 1, Scene 2. The scene takes place in a public place in Rome. The characters: Caesar, Antony, who is dressed for the Lupercal race, Calpurnia, Portia, Brutus, Cicero, Cassius, Casca, soothsayer, followed by a crowd of citizens. Before we begin, let's look at the summary of this scene. Here we move to another street in Rome. Caesar appears with his wife Calpurnia and his followers to celebrate the recent victory of Caesar over the sons of his old enemy Pompey, as well as to take part in the celebration of the Feast of Lupercal. Caesar is warned by a soothsayer. What was the warning? Beware the Ides of March. He moves ahead and leaving Brutus and Cassius behind. Cassius tells Brutus of the public state of affairs. While conversing each other, they hear the shouts of people hailing Caesar, which was heard in a distance. As Caesar's procession passes by, Brutus detains Casca that he may describe to him the offer of the crown to Caesar. Cassius takes further measures to incite Brutus against Caesar. 3 points are there. A soothsayer warns Caesar of the Ides of March. Cassius and Brutus agree that Caesar's power is too much to bear. Cassius decides to use Brutus to get rid of Caesar. Children, I hope you have taken the textbook so that you can mark the important points. Let's begin the class. Caesar enters the scene calling his wife Calpurnia. Casca informs everyone to be silent since Caesar is speaking. Caesar again calls his wife Calpurnia. Calpurnia answers, "I am here, my lord." Then Caesar gives instruction to Calpurnia, "Stand you directly in Antonius' way when he doth run his course." So this is the instruction. Two possible questions in this dialogue. What was the instruction given by Caesar? Stand you directly in Antonius' way when he doth run his course. At the end of the dialogue, he calls Antonius. So before that, let's look at the reference, run his course. Run along the route of race. During the festival of Lupercal, the god of fertility, important young people took part in the holy race through the city. It was a traditional belief that if a young man, while running, touched a woman who could not bear the children, she would be soon cured of her infertility and would be able to bear her children. So this is the reference for run his course and instruction stand till course. At the end he calls Antonius. He replies, "Caesar, my lord, you can speak. What is the instruction to be given?" Caesar gives instruction to Antony, "Forget till Calpurnia." And why did he give the instruction? For till sterile curse. Till there is the answer. So what was the instruction given by Caesar to Antony? "Forget not in your speed, Antonius, to touch Calpurnia. For our elders say, the barren touched in this holy chase shake off their sterile curse." He orders Antony to touch Calpurnia with his leather strap so that she can be cured of her infertility. When Caesar gives instruction to Antony, what was Antony's response? "I shall remember, I will not forget. When Caesar orders or Caesar instructs something, do this, do that, I ensure it is performed." Then Caesar tells, "Set on, proceed, and leave no ceremony out." Then we hear the flourish of trumpet. As they march forward, a soothsayer, fortune teller, calls Caesar. "Caesar." Caesar turns. He couldn't recognize who was calling. He asked, "Who calls?" Casca tells, "Bid every noise be still." Peace yet again. Once again, let everyone be silent. Casca tells everyone to be silent once again. Then Caesar speaks. Who is in the crowd press, that is crowd, that calls me? I hear a tongue, that is voice, which was sharper than all the music. And the sound was Caesar. I heard the word Caesar. Now you speak. Caesar is turned to hear. Turn to hear. Caesar has turned his face towards you to hear you attentively. The reference is, it is said that Caesar was deaf in one ear, E-A-R, ear. So he had to turn his ear by which he could hear towards a person talking to him. But this fact was never confirmed. Then the soothsayer. Soothsayer is a fortune teller. He answers, because Caesar asked, you speak, now I am listening to you. Whoever is calling me, now you speak. What do you want to speak to me? Then the soothsayer, the fortune teller, replies, be cautious about 15th of March, the Ides of March, that is 15th of March. Be very careful of that day, which may be harmful to you. This was the warning given. Then Caesar asked, who is that man who is cautioning me? The Ides of March? Brutus answers, a fortune teller tells you to be cautious about 15th of March, the Ides of March. Then Caesar asked Brutus, bring him before me, set him before me. Let me see, I wanted to see the phaser, his phaser, one who has warned me about the Ides of March. Then Cassius orders the soothsayer, come from the crowd, look at Caesar. Caesar wanted to look at you, wanted to see your face. Then Caesar tells him, what do you say to me now? What did you say now? Speak once again. Then the soothsayer repeated the same. Beware the Ides of March. Be very careful that day, which may be very harmful to you. Caesar looked at the face of the person, and how does he take the warning? He just ignored it and said, he is a dreamer. Let us leave him and move on. Then the next is trumpet sound. Everybody exits except Brutus and Cassius. Then Cassius asks Brutus, will you go see the order of the course? Are you going to see the progress of the race? Then Brutus answered, no, I am not. Not I. Then Cassius requested him, I pray you do. I request you to join, to go. Then Brutus gives a reason why is he not joining or not going. The reason is, I am not gamesome. Gamesome is the reason. Further, he gives one more reason. I do lack some part of that quick spirit that is in Antony. That means I lack. That means a shortage, a lack. Okay. Some lively temperament or the spirits, lively spirits which Antony has. Here he tells that he is not feeling festive. He is not interested in sports. Then he said that, let me not hinder, Cassius, your desires. So I leave you. Here he tells Cassius to go ahead, and Brutus doesn't want to be a hindrance for his enjoyment. When Brutus says that he is not gamesome, that means not interested in games, and at the same time he doesn't want to stop Cassius from his desire of watching the race, Cassius expresses his opinion about Brutus. Brutus, I do observe you now of late. What was his observation? See the next 4 lines. I have not from your eyes that gentleness and show of love as I was wont to have. You bear too stubborn and too strange a hand over your friend that loves you. Here he tells that, Brutus, recently I have observed that your eyes do not have the expression of gentle feelings and love which I used to have from you. And now your behavior appears too strict and strange towards a friend who loves you. The friend is none but Cassius. And the literary term used here is metaphor. Let's see that. Brutus is compared to a rider who is unfamiliar with his horse, and is strict in handling it. This metaphor from riding, Brutus as a strange rider, holding his horse too hard as he is unsure about the horse, unlike a person who rides his faithful horse with easy reins. What reply does Brutus give at this juncture? Cassius, be not deceived. If I have veiled my look, I turn the trouble of my countenance merely upon myself. First he said, why? He said that, do not be mistaken. The reason for my harsh behavior is not because Brutus doesn't love Cassius, but because he is suffering from some mental worries. And further he tells that, vexed am of late with passion of some difference. Passions of some difference means conflicting emotions. Here he tells her, do not have a wrong idea. If I have hidden my real expression, it is because he has turned the troubled feelings inside himself instead of showing it on his face. Then, conceptions only proper to myself, which gives some soil perhaps to my behavior. He tells, why this strange appearance? He tells that such conflicting feelings, this conflicting emotions, passions of some difference, such conflicting feelings and thoughts, which is only concerning Brutus, but they leave some effect or mark on my behavior. This is the reason, this kind of appearance, and you have mistaken. But here he tells that, let not therefore my good friends be grieved, among which number Cassius be you one, nor construe any further my neglect than that poor Brutus with himself at war forget the shows of love to other men. Here he tells, already told that the reason, passion of some difference, because of that some effect on his behavior. So he tells that my good friends, including yourself, among which number Cassius, my good friends, and Cassius is one among them. My good friends, including you, should not feel sad, be grieved. Therefore, my good friends, be grieved. Should not feel sad, thinking that Brutus has neglected his friends. You should not be sad that Brutus has neglected his friends. They should think that. Now they should understand, they should conclude why this appearance is there on Brutus. They should conclude it. Brutus is himself very much troubled. He is vexed in his mind to decide what action he should take. That is a problem. And that is the reason forgets to show his love towards his friends. Forget the shows of love to other men. The reason is Brutus, who is at war with himself. This is the answer. Brutus with himself at war. This is the reason he forgets to shows of love to other men. Why he forgets? The above line is the answer. The reason is Brutus, who is at war with himself. And what is the problem? Passions of some difference. He says it has conflicting emotions. Now Cassius tells that, then Brutus, I have much mistook your passions. Here he tells that, oh, I have mistaken your feelings. By means whereof this breast of mine hath buried thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations. Tell me, Brutus, can you see your face? So, by means whereof, because of which, this breast of mine hath buried. This breast, that means I kept to myself a number of important thoughts which needs deep thinking. Before I express it, before I share those important points, thoughts, cogitations, tell me, Brutus, can you see your face? He asked the question. Can you see the reflection? Here, Cassius is asking Brutus whether he is able to take a good look at himself, or whether he is able to see his worthiness, and to see Brutus whether he is able to see many people in the government are waiting for him to see what is before him. Indirectly, Cassius is talking about Brutus' vision of a Caesar, which Cassius believed it is wrong. He wanted to correct it. So when he asked the question, can you see your face? Whether you are able to see the reflection, what answer did Brutus give? No, Cassius, for the eye sees not itself. No, he is not able to see the reflection. What is the reason? Here it is given blindness to his own feelings. Here it is told conflicting emotions. But by reflection, by some other things. Here he tells that he doesn't see himself, but he gains knowledge through the perception of others. So Cassius says that it's just and it is very much lamented if this is the case, if you are not able to see your reflection and you gain knowledge through the perception of others, then it is really a pity. It is very much lamented, Brutus. The reason is that you have no such mirror. You do not have a mirror that will show your hidden worthiness into your eye. That will help you to see your hidden worth. That you might see your reflection. You do not. You lack a mirror. Then he shares an important information at this juncture. I have heard where many of best respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eye. So here he expresses and shares the news which he has heard. What is the news he has heard? Where many of the best respect, here he tells that the most important people in Rome, highly, that means the people, the highest placed people here, they accept the immortal Caesar. Immortal Caesar, here Cassius is ironical. And what did they speak? They were speaking about Brutus. And what is happening to these people? The most respected people? Groaning underneath this age's yoke. Yoke, here it is oppression. You know the yoke, the wooden structure kept on the animal's neck. Right. Like that, they are oppressed under Caesar's rule. So they were groaning. They were saying something. What was the wish expressed by this most respected people in Rome, except that immortal Caesar? The last line. Have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes. That's the answer. Expresses that Brutus should have eyes to see his worth. His eyes were working better. This was the wish expressed by the most respected people. Here Cassius wants Brutus to see his worth, and ultimately he wanted Brutus to join in the conspiracy against Caesar. Brutus asks, into what dangers would you lead me? The reason is just before Cassius says that many highly placed men suffering under the oppression of the times wish that noble Brutus could see all these things and could think out its remedy. So Brutus did not understand it and he asked Cassius, into what risk would you like to lead me, Cassius? And you are asking me to look at myself for something that isn't in me? Then Cassius answers, good Brutus, be ready to listen. He gives an explanation for the second line and till not of is the explanation given by Cassius. Since you know you cannot see yourself so well as by reflection. Just before Brutus said that he is not able to see his own reflection. He gains knowledge through the perception of others. He said that. So the best way, he says that Cassius, the best way to see yourself is by reflection. And since you are not able to see your reflection, Cassius will act as a glass, that is mirror. Literary term is metaphor. And as a mirror, what will he do? Will modestly discover to yourself that of yourself which you yet not know of. Here he tells that he will show the parts of Brutus, the worth of Brutus, that too without exaggeration, which Brutus is unaware of. And Cassius says here, and be not jealous on me. He should not doubt on Cassius for this, because he says that he will act as a mirror and will show the parts and the worth of Brutus, which Brutus isn't aware. You should not be suspicious on me, gentle Brutus. You should not doubt on me. You should not consider me as a dangerous person. You can consider me as a dangerous person on the conditions from here where till route. On these conditions, Cassius says that on these conditions, Brutus can consider Cassius as a dangerous person. Let's look at those points. Were I a common laugher, or did he used to stale with ordinary oaths my love? To every new protester, if you know that I do fawn on men and hug them hard and after scandal them, or if you know that I profess myself in banqueting to all the rout, then you can consider me dangerous. Here he tells that if he was a frivolous fool, or he used to make some stale vows of friendship to every new person, every new protester or a friend whom he meets, then if he gets to know that he flatters people when he meets people, he just flatter men and hug them hard, and after he speaks ill about them in their absence, and then he professes his love to everyone in a feast, declare his friendship when drinking, that means in the banquet, to all the common people. On these conditions, you can consider me dangerous. When he completes this dialogue, they heard the trumpet sound and some shouting and cheering. Then Brutus asked, what means this shouting? What is the meaning of this shout? I do fear. Now he guessed what is the meaning of this cheering. I do fear the people choose Caesar for their king. I fear people, they have chosen Caesar as their king. Cassius says that, then I think you fear it. You have a fear that people may choose Caesar as their king. I should conclude like that. And I should conclude that you do not want it to happen. Then Brutus agreed to that. I would not. I do not. Though Brutus loved Caesar, he doesn't want Caesar to be the king. Then he asked the question, why are you retaining me here for so long? Wherefore? Why are you holding me here so long? What do you want to say to me? What is it that you would impart to me? Is it anything related to the general good, the people of Rome? Is it anything related to them? If it is so, then Brutus will do it in a heartbeat. And he gives an example. If Brutus is asked to set honor in one side and death in the other side, Brutus will consider both impartially, indifferently. I will look on both. Both here refers to honor and death. He will consider it impartially, and he requests God for let the gods so speed me. May the gods favor me in that manner. Which manner? Conclusion is the name of honor more than I fear. After all, Brutus says that he loves honor more than he fears death. Brutus said that for doing the good of general public, if he sees an act of honor with one eye and the fear of death with the other eye, it will not make any difference to Brutus. For it does not matter if for doing the general good he would run the risk of being killed. At the end, he says that he values the name of honor more than he fears death. When he said this, Cassius replied, I know that virtue to be in you. I know you have that noble virtue. Brutus, as well as I do know as much as I know about your personal appearance. Anyway, well, honor is the subject of my story. So what's the topic? Honor. I cannot tell what you and other men think of this life. I don't know. How do you consider, you and other people, Brutus and other men consider this life? But according to me, personally, my opinion about my life is I would rather die. I had as live, not be as live to be in awe of such a thing as myself. This is his opinion about his life. I would rather die that live in constant fear of a person who is no better than Cassius. Then he tells that I was born free as Caesar. So were you. He tells that I was born as free man as Caesar. How Caesar was. So were you. You here refers to Brutus. Both you and I, Cassius and Brutus, have eaten as good food as who had eaten? Caesar. And both you and I, Cassius and Brutus, they are able to bear the cold of winter. How Caesar can bear it? That means he is not better. Caesar is not better. He is not superior. He is proving. Further, he proves it with two instances. The first instance begins from here. For once upon. For once upon a raw and gusty day, the troubled Tiber, chafing with her shores, Caesar said to me, Darest thou, Cassius, now leap in with me into this angry flood and swim at to yonder point. So here he says that once upon a raw and gusty day. Here Cassius gives the first example. On a cold, stormy day, the troubled Tiber, which was a troubled, turbulent with her shores, the sullen river was raging at the banks on a particular cold and stormy day. Caesar challenged me. What was the challenge? From here. Darest thou, do you dare, Cassius, now to jump into this angry flood and that to swim to the yonder point? Do you dare? This is the challenge, this question. Upon the word, accoutred as I was, even though I was dressed, I did not waste a minute. I just plunged in and asked him to follow. So indeed he did. Even he followed. Truly he followed. Then describe the river. The torrent roared. The water current was really strong. And how did they compete? We did buffet it with lusty sinews, throwing it aside and stemming it with the hearts of controversy. Till here. The water current was strong and they had to beat the waves. How? With lusty sinews, strong muscles, vigorous strength, throwing the waves aside and stemming it, overcoming it. How did they compete? With competitive spirits. But what happened before they could reach up? Ere we could arrive the particular proposed point, Caesar cried, Help me, Cassius, otherwise I will sink. Upon hearing his voice, his request and cry, I, Cassius, like Aeneas, there is an allusion, like Aeneas, who is a great ancestor, did from the flames of Troy upon his shoulder the old Anchises bear, saved his father Anchises from the burning city of Troy, Aeneas carried Anchises on his back and saved his life. Similarly, from the waves of Tiber, Cassius saved Caesar from drowning. Till here the example. And this man whom I have saved, Cassius has saved, is now become a god. Caesar was looked upon by the common people like God. So now he has become a god. And what is my condition? Cassius is a wretched creature, a lowly creature. And what I am doing now must bend his body. If Caesar carelessly but not on him, Caesar casually just note, I should bend my body and stand in front of Caesar like a wretched creature. Till here the first example, and here begins the second example. When he was in Spain, he had a fever. When the fit was on him, Cassius noticed, I did mark how he did shake, how he shook. It's true, it's really true. This god really shook. And what happened to his lips? His covered lips did from their color fly. The red color of his lips vanished from his covered lips. And that same eye whose bent death o'er the world did lose his luster. With the very eye, the same eye, whose one look can fight all the world, did lose the luster, its luster. I did hear him groan, that tongue of his that bade the Romans mark him and write his speeches in their books. What happened to that voice? The commanding voice of Caesar, which forced the Romans to obey him and keep a record of whatever he spoke, his speeches. What happened to that voice? It cried. The voice now cried, give me some drink, Titinius. As a sick girl, the voice is compared to the voice of a helpless girl, sick girl. This is the description given about Caesar to prove that he is not better to Cassius. At the end he says, yes, God, it really surprises me. It doth amaze me. A man of such feeble temper, such feeble character, feeble nature, weak body, should get the start of majestic world. So get the start of majestic world and bear the palm alone. Succeed in all the race for power and majesty, and he alone carries off the prize. Bear the palm alone, the crown of palm leaves which is given to a conqueror. Such a person of feeble temper is getting the prize alone. They hear the flourish of trumpet and the second shout of the people. Children, the second half of this scene will be uploaded soon. Thank you.